Okay, so this is the Silhouette Cameo software. My screen's kind of big, so it might be hard to see the whole thing, but basically the only part that we're going to worry about is this here. This is a representation of what your cutting mat looks like, and your cutting mat is basically depending what type of brand you get. This is the actual Silhouette brand cutting mat. This is kind of a carrier sheet for you to cut your media, whether you're primarily going to be cutting heat transfer vinyl, which I buy it. You can buy it by the sheet, but I buy it by the roll because I use a lot of it. So on this side it's a little more matte. On this side it is shiny. The big thing to remember with heat transfer vinyl is that you always cut your vinyl with the shiny side applied to the mat. So you would actually apply it like this to the mat, and the matte side stays down, the shiny side stays up, because the shiny side, you mirror the image when you cut it. So when you cut it, it's going to come out and it's going to look like it is inverted, but once you weed through it and everything, you flip it over so that it's right side up. So the adhesive for the heat transfer vinyl is on this side, so that's why it's important to make sure that you always cut it shiny side down. So anyway, there's a lot of features in the software. I was cutting, this is a 12 by 12 mat. They do sell 12 by 24 inch mats. It allows you to cut bigger pieces of vinyl if you wanted to do like a say you wanted to make like a tablecloth or something, you need something longer than 12 inches. You can customize your page setup over here. You can make it whatever size you want. They have the cutting mats set at they have them like pre-sized already, where you can go in and then if you see it kind of changed, this is the cut line down here, it changed the size of the area that you can cut, and then you can change the actual paper size up here. So I'll just change it back. This is a representation of this. So whatever you put on here and it'll scale to this, like this matches this. So you can actually show the grid on here, so this actually matches this. If you want to make sure that, say you don't want to cover the whole entire mat with a piece of vinyl, you can kind of count your squares to know where you need to place it on the mat, because it's going to cut exactly in the same placement on here. So I'm just going to show you really quick. I already have something designed, but you had said you wanted a shirt that just basically says loyalty. So I'm going to go over to my little, I have two screens, sorry. So I'm going to go over to my little A, which will allow me to create a text box on my mat. So I'm just going to type the word loyalty. Or not. Let's try that again. There we go. Not all capital. So the red outline are your cut lines. That's where the blade is going to cut your vinyl out. So the inside of the L will be left. And then just really quick, this is what the actual machine looks like. So you load your vinyl into this part on your mat, and I'll show you how to do that. But this little thing right here is your actual blade. That's what it bounces up and down, and that's what actually cuts the vinyl. It'll move back and forth and it'll cut your design. So again, my suggestion is, if you're going to get into making t-shirts and stuff, start downloading fonts now before you decide, or before, you know, whenever you find them. There are a ton of free font websites. I can give you some of them. So I want to change the font on this. If you just put the box around it, and we can make it bigger. and it'll give you the measurements down here, but they're not completely accurate. Like, they're counting all the negative space around it. So the actual word loyalty is not 5.738 inches. So you have a little bit of wiggle room with it. So I'll just make this bigger so it's easier to see. So being as it's a white background, I always like to fill it in. This doesn't mean that you're going to cut it this color. This is just making it easier for you to be able to see it. Like if you were doing a design that had multiple colors in it, this has nothing to do with the actual color that it cuts. So this is, you know, if I just want to make it pink to see what it was going to look like. So we'll just do blue. And basically, you know, you can go through, and these are all the fonts that I've downloaded over the last few months. So click on it, you can change it. This one looks pretty cool. So you can see that it's blue, or you can see the blue parts, and then if you see this little like white part here, that would be like negative space. So if you cut this out, you would actually weed away this little white part, so it would look a little distressed. The font itself, it would kind of look like a brush stroke like that. So basically, once you're happy with your design, and you have it sized correctly for this, you know, each t-shirt is going to be a different size decal, and there are a ton of charts online to show you what the best size is for each t-shirt, or, you know, where to place them or how to place them if you want to do like a pocket placement or across your chest, and it tells you kind of how far down from the chest or from the collar it should be. But you'll get a feel for that as you get into it more. I wouldn't stress about making sure that you're measuring things correctly. There are easy ways to kind of place things without worrying about, you don't need like a T-square or anything like that. Those are kind of just unnecessary. I do actually have a yardstick that I purchased from Walmart for like $5. It's a metal one, and it's flimsy and it's bendable. And that's been working fantastic for me. So just a little tip. So I'm just going to open up the project that I have saved that I actually need to cut. And this is just a shirt that I had designed for someone there. They have a family racing team. So I've already cut the 4 to 8 out. So what I'm going to do is I need to cut I'm going to move the Allen Family Racing, and I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to bring the Cobra Jet down. So I basically need to cut the outline of the 4 and the words Cobra Jet out with black HTV, heat transfer vinyl. So in the background really quick, I am just I'm going to apply the heat transfer vinyl to my mat, and then I'll show you how to load it into the machine. Alright, so let me see if I can do this at the same time. I need 2 hands. Alright, so the mat has an arrow on it that tells you which side to load into the machine to make sure that the grid is aligned correctly. The shiny side is pressed down, and these mats have like an adhesive on them. It's not permanent. It just keeps it sticky so that the vinyl doesn't slide around when it's in the machine. So these little lines right here are basically where you want to align the edge of your mat. And I'm going to have to put you down for a second. See if you can see. You can still see it. No. Alright, so I think I can do this with one hand. So it's kind of raised up a little bit. So if you just stick your mat along those lines, the edge of it, and then it kind of lines up. Let's put it down real quick. So I'm just gonna make sure this is aligned correctly, and the screen over here now says load and unload, so we obviously want to load the mat in. So you just hit load, I just tap load, and then it pulls the vinyl in slightly. And then now that I already have, if you see, you can see that my image is mirrored. And you only have to do this with the heat transfer vinyl. And it's just because of the way that you have to load the vinyl into the machine. We basically we need to be able to flip it back over to have it in the correct position to apply it to the shirt. So you basically, you're able to flip it horizontally, and then if I flip it back, it'll flip back. So we're just gonna flip it horizontally. And what I'm gonna tell the machine to do is, you're able to tell the machine to only cut what is colored in black. So although see, I can move this 8 because of the way that I designed it, but I want to keep it like this. I'm just going to tell the machine to only cut the black. So it's only going to cut out the words Cobra Jet, and it'll cut the background of the 4, the 2, and the 8. So I have the default mat size a little bit bigger because this is actually bigger than a 12 by 12. So I will cut out, actually I'll cut out the 428 first. I will take the Cobra Jet. So I'm gonna go up here to send, and that just means that you're sending your project to the printer. And up here is where you tell them to you uncheck red and check black. That means that the machine is only gonna cut the black. It is set to heat transfer smooth because that is the type of vinyl that I have loaded into the machine. And then you go down here to send. You'll get into all the specifics with the blades and stuff once you kind of get into it and start using the machine. But basically, so once I hit send, it is going to, that's my heat press going off. The blade auto adjusts for whatever type of media you're cutting. So that's kind of what it's doing right now. And then it starts actually cutting the design. So right now it's cutting out the two sets of 428. And these are just fairly easy numbers, so it'll only take a second for them to cut out. I'm gonna go stop my heat press from beeping real quick. Another so it's done with the numbers now, and you wait for it to finish working. That's what it's kind of saying right now. You can't really see it with the Then we're gonna unload, and it spits out the mat. And then this is the part where it's called weeding. You're basically pulling away all of the excess vinyl that you don't need. I'm trying to see where to place this. So Sorry, my mount sucks. So it's kind of hard to see, but in person you can see the cut lines on the vinyl. It's kind of hard to see it in person, but I mean through the camera. But so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of trim away the excess vinyl. And I just use an X-Acto knife. You'll see a lot of, there are a lot of tools out there that are made by the manufacturers of the machines. I'm not really a fan. This came with my machine, but I don't ever even use it. My favorite thing to use aside from the X-Acto knife, these are actually lock pick sets from Harbor Freight. They were like $3. And this is actually my favorite tool to use. It is a piece of the lock pick set and it just has a really thin point. That's aside from the X-Acto knife, because this one can't cut. That would be my favorite one. So basically to weed, you kind of start at one corner and you're pulling the vinyl away from it's called the carrier sheet. So anything that's not cut by the machine will just peel up. So you just peel it away. I guess like you're weeding away the excess is why they call it weeding, but there's still a plastic sheet stuck to the mat. That's what you want. So you basically just pull away all of these extra pieces. And the vinyl that I'm using is called Caesar Easy Weed, and they just call it Easy Weed because it's easy to weed. It's easy to pull away. It doesn't really stick to the mat. So basically what we're left with now are the inverted numbers. So there are some extra pieces like the inside of the 8 and the inside of the 4, and I can see the lines in person. So you basically just peel those up as well. You just go in and you kind of grab it a little bit where you can see the cut lines and you just pull it and it peels up really easily. I'm just going to do that with the 4. And in the 2. And in the 8. So if you see, if I turn the mat around, they're right side up. Once you're done weeding, you peel the whole entire heat transfer sheet off. Then you're done with the mat at this point. The mat's just for cutting and weeding. And then what I would do is I would just take my scissors, and this is going on 2 different shirts. So I'm just going to split the design. And I just cut it with a pair of scissors. So now we're left with this. And I have a white one to put over top of it, which I already cut that one last night. Because my intention is to layer these. So, sorry. So I'm just gonna weed the white one really quick. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black one. This will be the final design. You can't press them like that though. You have to do each layer individually, but that was just to kind of give you an idea of what it is going to look like. So now I'm going to take you over to the heat press to show you how to actually apply it to the shirt. I gotta figure out how to set this up real quick though. So this is actually going to be applied to the back of the shirt. And I have a decal, the Allen Family Racing will go on the front. So I just have a plain white red shirt. My rule of thumb for placement is about 3 inches from the bottom of the collar. So what I do is lay the shirt flat, and I pre-pressed this shirt. I basically took it and folded it in half. I have another one here that I'll use it as an example. I folded it in half and kind of went by the shoulder seams and the underarm, and then you put it in the heat press just for like 5 seconds. And what it does is it gives you an exact, I don't know if it's kind of hard, line down the middle of the shirt. So that's the center of the shirt. It's a really good starting point to make sure that your design is actually centered and you don't have to go crazy trying to measure it. So basically what I do with the whatever I'm applying, I take that and I also fold that in half. This is sticky on this side, so we don't want to fold that down. But I fold it in half and I try to find the center of the design, or I just take my yardstick, like I'll lay it on the shirt, and I just take my yardstick to see exactly how long the design is. And then I just do half of that. So the black 428 is about 9.5 inches. So we go like around 4 3/4, and fold it in half. So what that does is it allows you to place the crease of this on the crease of the shirt, and that will automatically center it. Like it's like a no-brainer. You don't really have to put too much thought into it. It's almost, I have never had it not centered yet. So you see how that kind of created a crease in the middle? That'll press out too. And if I just want to double check myself, I lay it down and then I re-measure it to make sure that that's at 4 3/4 for the half. So that's perfect. So then what I do is you kind of look at it and place it, and you make sure that the center line in the 2 is lined up with the center line in the shirt. I just take a quick this looks okay. It's about almost 5 inches for the back of the shirt. I'm sorry. For the back of the shirt, I like to go between 4 and 5 inches from the bottom of the collar. For the front of the shirt, it's 3. So this is about 5, and that's perfectly fine. It's not an exact science. It kind of is what looks good and what's going to look good on the actual shirt itself. So you take it and press it down because the other side of it is sticky. It doesn't leave a residue. That's just what adheres the vinyl to the shirt. So you lay that down if it looks good, and then you take it and put it into the press. These are Teflon sheets that I have lined on the press. Those protect the vinyl and the shirt from burning. I just bought them. You can buy them anywhere, but I just stuck them with magnets on there. A lot of people, because I use the press all the time, a lot of people will just attach it to the press because you're supposed to put it on top of whatever you're pressing each time. If you forget, it'll make a really big mess. So I just leave it on there so that I won't ever forget. So being as I'm doing a layered design and it's more than just one color, we only want to press this for maybe 4 seconds. And my temperature's at 305. each manufacturer of vinyl has their own reference for what temperature and how long you should press it for. So my press has an automatic timer. I just wait until it hits about 5 seconds, and then I press it down, and you let it go. And then you want to peel this while it's still hot. So you're peeling the top plastic layer off. And then what that leaves you with the 428 is now stuck on the shirt, but it's not been pressed long enough for it to stay. So we're going to stick the white over top of it, and I'm just lining it up to make sure that the outlines are even on each number, just to make sure that they make sense. I'm going to make sure that it looks good. Actually, what I had to do last time was cut each number out individually, which is fine. For some reason, it doesn't line up perfectly so that each number, so I just cut them out. So what I'm going to do is line them up really quick. That looks good. Now we're just going to press this for another like 4 seconds, the white layer, and then we're going to remove then we're going to pull the clear sheets off, and then we're going to press it for a full 10 seconds with both of the layers adhered now. I still have more to do to this shirt, but that gives you an idea. I still have to press something on the front, and I have a word to press across the numbers, but that just gives you an idea. And it's hot right now, so I just let it cool down. But they're on there, they're not going anywhere. This is safe to wash, so we're good to go.